Hey, Steve Conley here for It's About Belief. There's something that just came up in my mind, and it was me abdicating my power out to a certain set of circumstances out there. And in a way, it's kind of like my rational mind wanting to hijack my imaginary mind, which is where all the power is, all the creative power, all the energy, the things that create the stuff that shows up out there. But the rational mind wants to say, well, if you can't see it, then it's not real. Well, that's not the way things work at all. So, in my mind, what we have going on here is we have our imaginary mind back here. I'm going to go on this side and do back there into your mental mind, your imaginary creative mind, and then anything out there is the illusion or the result of what's going on in here, right? But essentially it's the past. What's out there, it's done. It's over, it's past. You created it here, I created it here. Boom, it showed up out there, and that's it. Now it's a good monitor to say, what am I thinking? Well, just look out there. That's what you're thinking. Whatever's going on, that's what you're thinking. It's going to show up right there. Or you can certainly look in here and say, what am I thinking? But sometimes it has to hit us, bam, in the face before we realize, oh, wait a minute, I might not be thinking what I think I'm thinking. So here's where I'm going with this. We may not be thinking what we think we're thinking. So I'm going to use an example. Suppose you want $1 billion, or you want more money. And maybe you said, hey, I want another 100,000. And then you said, wait a minute, that's not enough. I want 1 million. Well, shoot, I'll blow through 1 million in about a week. So that's not enough. And then you say, well, I need 100 million. Well, that's not so easy to roll off. That might be enough. It might not. I don't know. But so then you say, well, I don't think I want 1 billion. Okay, good. Now that kind of rolls off. It's easy. It's certainly enough for most people, not everybody, but it's enough for most everybody. So I said, okay, I want 1 billion. Now, I'm just doing the money thing because it's kind of easy, as an illustration, because it's descriptive, and you can use this idea for anything, for health, career, relationships. And those are just broad categories, of course. Of course, career is, money, what you're doing, how you're doing it, which the process or the non-process, whatever it is. The relationships are your soulmate, of course, your friendships, your family, your friends, your sex life, whatever that is. You can use this for that, or certainly for health reasons, you can use this for that, because hey, everything comes from here. Let's get that solidly into our psyche, and do everything we can to remember that in every moment. That's one of the challenges. As Einstein said, and I like to quote this particular quote, he said, what we're experiencing when we look out there is an illusion, albeit a very persistent illusion. It's damn persistent. But if it's helpful to be reminded, constantly that, hey, that's an illusion. But it's also a reflection. It's also a monitor's feedback, boom, of what's happening right here. So this is where your power is, and that's where I'm going with this. And I'm also going to the main subject I I want to talk about is maybe you're not thinking what you're thinking you're thinking. And so what I've experienced is, so I was using this $1 billion thing, idea, that I wanted. So I'm using the $1 billion thing. And then I realized what I was doing was I was letting the rational mind come in and kind of hijack my power. Because then the rational mind says, oh, okay, well, so-and-so, because he has some connections, is going to do this and that and the other and then send you the money. Well, that's rather limiting, That's like saying, okay, the universe, you have to bring it to me this way. And I don't want that. I don't want limitation. I don't want to say it has to happen that way, because it might not happen that way. And if anything, the past has shown me that it's not going to happen that way. So now that doesn't mean I should believe that, but there it is. It's in the psyche, it's in the subconscious. So that presents, maybe subtle roadblocks that are unnecessary. So I said, wow, I'm abdicating my power. I need to stop that. So now I have removed that idea as part of how this $1 billion is going to show up. So now I've freed the universe. I've taken the shackles off of the universe to deliver the $1 billion, or to deliver health or relationships or anything else. So I would suggest maybe take a look at what's going on in here and say, okay, let me think, let me look and see what it is that I'm thinking in terms of creating desires. And now, the other thing that we do is ask the wrong questions constantly. And certainly one of those is, okay, now I've imagined it, now what do I do? Well, nothing. And see, that's the rational mind trap again. We're not doing anything. We're being. We're human beings. We're not human doings. And so now the trick is to be that which we wish to be. Act as if, as Neville Goddard says, act as if your wish has been fulfilled, which is tune your frequency to the desired results, not to the question, the problem, the request, the wanting, the desire. No, skip that. Just go straight to the end and say, okay, what would my life look like if I had that, or if I had that relationship, that $1 billion, that health, that career, that thing that's so much fun? What would I be doing? What would I be saying? How would I act? And, do those things. Act like that. But more than that, go in here and see it and hold to and true to that vision. And what's the purpose of that? The purpose is to raise your frequency to the frequency of the desired vibrational output out there. So in other words, we want to translate what's going on in here into out there. And the way to do that is to raise the frequency and tie that to the vision that you have here, and then just know that it is done. Just know. You have to know before you see it. Again, you cannot let your rational mind hijack your magical mind. I like calling this the magical mind. It looks like magic, but it's not. It's physics, strictly physics. It's the way the universe works, and I've used the tuning fork example several times now, which has been well received. I've had a couple of people say, "Hey, man, I really love that idea of," and it's very illustrative. It's also called quantum entanglement, if you want to go into the science part of it. But I do caution everyone who are scientists and who believe in the science and who look to the science to say, well, with the science, we need to look at the science to make sure what we're doing is right. No, the science is out there. It's beyond that demarcation line that I would call illusion. You can't see my hand when I go past the phone like that. Illusion and creative magical mind. So just remember, I mean, it's okay to look at the science, but just remember, what we look for, we're going to find. You know, that's the way things work. What we put our attention on gets bigger. Everything out there is a possibility. Everything exists now, right here and now. Everything. So if we start looking for pink apples as, you know, justification for some special fruit, we're going to find it. I've never seen one. I've never thought of one until just this moment. But if we start looking for them, they'll be there. I promise you, they'll be there. And that's the way the science actually works. And that's been proven by the Heisenberg experiment. You know, nothing was really going on with the Heisenberg experiment until that somebody started looking at it, putting their consciousness, their attention on it. What? They only just looked at it. They didn't touch anything. They didn't manipulate it. They didn't move any plates. They didn't do anything. They just looked at it. Now that gives you the idea of the power that is there within your magical mind. So again, I'm back to pay attention to what's in here. Hold the vision. It's not going to necessarily show up right away. It might. You know, you may have pure thought without any resistance. If it's something you've been, quote unquote, working on for a long time, hey, the resistance is there. There's no question about it, because you haven't seen it as working on it. I've been working on stuff for a long time, certain things. So the thing to do is stop working on it, right? You know, just stop. Just stop. Stop it. Stop. If you've been working on something for 10 years or 20 or 30 or 50 years and it's still there and you're still working on it, you might at some point say, what am I doing? What? How come this isn't working? You know, you might stop and think, maybe what I'm doing isn't actually working to the thing that I actually want to have happen. If you want to experience the process of just working on it without maybe seeing the realization of the thing completed, then continue. Just keep working on it. But if you'd like to see the thing show up, then stop working on it. Why? Because it's already done. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to see it, because you have to believe it before you're going to see it. And that again is what the whole purpose of raising your frequency up to the level of manifestation or completion. Let's call it that. So look inside. If there's something you're working on, stop working on it. Look inside and say, what am I thinking? Because I'm looking out there, it hasn't shown up. I want it to show up. I'm tired of the process. I've worked on it long enough. I don't need to work on it anymore. You know, Why? Because it's already done. The only thing I need to do is be that frequency, be the me that I wish to be. And then hold that imagination, hold that magical mind in such a way as you're unshakable in that vision. And then relax, totally relax. Why? Well, you know that it's already done, so there's really nothing to do except for, just relax into that knowing. And then just be aware of what happens. The last thing I'm going to say about all of that is, once you relax into the knowing, and you're certainly maybe not necessarily going to see that right away. You might see it, boom, just show up just like that. I've seen it both ways. So it just depends on how quickly and how much one can let go of all of the resistance at once. If you let go of it all, boom, it'll show up immediately. It has nothing to do with the circumstances or the situations or anything that's going on out there. Nothing at all. The only thing it has to do with is you. And so the last thing I want to say about that is you have to be completely and totally at peace and full acceptance of where you are right this moment. You have to be happy now. Bottom line. And you have to be happy in the visualization, and you have to be completely and totally satisfied right here, right now, with what is. Period. End of story.